Welcome all, Raymond for Stream Gamers. Today, I haven't done a lot of videos. I've been obviously busy with other endeavors, but I have struggled with whether I should do this video or I shouldn't do it. I've created a number of takes and not put them out, and this may be yet another one that I may not put out, so you may not even hear this. But I'm feeling more and more compelled with the idea that I must put out a video, and I'm feeling compelled by it. So bear with me. I want to just do a couple of quick things at the start of the video, just so I'm clear about what I'm trying to accomplish here. As a member of the flight community, I happen to be one of them. I've enjoyed PMDG. This is a PMDG 800. You would have seen in the caption something about the 800, I'm sure. But I've been a flight enthusiast for many, many years and a great supporter of the PMDG ecosystem, the PMDG aircraft. I think they've been nothing short of phenomenal. They have filled the gap in 2020 and in 2024 that's greatly missed, and that is to have study level like aircraft provided to us as simmers from a third-party vendor. There's a tremendous amount of Airbus out there that developers are creating, and they're doing wonderful jobs. But in the Boeing line, the 737 line, now PMDG's 777 line, these are things that were sorely missed, and PMDG has filled those gaps, and they've done an amazing job in 2020. That was just an amazing job. It leads me to reluctantly have this review of the PMDG 737-800. I also want to make sure that I'm clear about my motivation. My motivation isn't to disparage PMDG or any other people that enjoy the products, and any other people that are in love with the product. These are my views and my views alone. And I don't want anybody to think that I am trying to convert people away from the PMDG line, because I love it too. I'm just very disheartened by some of the recent and past events. So let's just kind of start with the history as I know it to be true. Again, if I'm saying something that is inaccurate, and you have substantial proof of which to say it is inaccurate, not just enough to say that no, it isn't right, no, this isn't true. That's not enough for me, anyways. But if you have something that contradicts what I'm saying and you want to put that in the comment section, I'm all for it. Go ahead. Let's just open up the forum and just make a huge conversation about my views and others. Okay. So I'm going to briefly go through a small history of the PMDG. I've been following this development of the PMDG 737 line of planes, whether it be the 6, 7, 8, and 900 line of planes. I've been kind of following since 2020 and before even 2024 came out. Early on, when we announced that 2024 was going to come out, PMDG, and I'm going to use Robert, and Robert, if you're watching this video, I'm going to apologize if I butcher your last name. That is not my intent, but it is the way I pronounce it, so if I've done it incorrectly, I apologize. But Robert Randazzo is the voice of PMDG, and so I will refer to PMDG/Robert Randazzo because he's the voice of it. Now, early on, when 2024 was announced, it was going to come out, there was some conversations about, what was going to port over. Was there going to be just a simple transition from 2020 into 2024? Could we just, as simmers such as myself, could we just take the packages out of our community folder and just drag them and put them into the 2024 community folder, and life would be good. PMDG Robert said that yes, that's what was going to happen. I'm going to paraphrase here again, so if I'm not using the exact words, please forgive me, but I'm going to kind of paraphrase this a little bit in my own words as I recall them. And also keep in mind, these things are based off of my memory. Have I remembered it wrong? I don't believe I have, but if I have, in the comment sections and prove me wrong that I have remembered it wrong. PMDG Robert announced that the PMDG lineup of aircraft would port over and there would be no problems. It just, he didn't, I don't know if he said just drag it and drop it in, but it would port over, it would be no problems. Now, shortly after the video, or shortly after the 2024 got released, then we discovered, yes, it wasn't working. You couldn't just do that. There was problems. Robert had made a comment about, well, PMDG failed us in some ways in terms of SDK and stuff like that, and I agree. I think PMDG could have, Microsoft could have done a better job of releasing the SDK maybe a little sooner to certain developers, especially more intricate developers such as PMDG and init builds and fly-by-wire and some of the more prominent ones. I agree that I think that could have and should have been done, because was there enough time? I don't know, but it wasn't done. So I agree that the release of the SDK just wasn't done in time. Although I will say all of the other higher end development aircraft all seem to get through that transition relatively quickly, and in general didn't charge for it. And we'll get back to that, didn't charge for it. I'm sure you're all aware that I'm going to discuss this. But so Robert releases a video making statements such as, Microsoft said it was going to transition over and it didn't because, and Microsoft did this and Microsoft did that and Microsoft did this. Again, my opinion, but look, Microsoft doesn't adhere to PMDG's theory of operation. Microsoft releases a product and we, the developers, or you, the developers, develop under their umbrella. It's not the other way around. And anybody who thinks that it is the other way around, they're sorely mistaken. That's not to say that Microsoft can't take some of these things into consideration. Absolutely. But they don't tailor to the developers. The developers tailor to the simulator. It's unfortunate, but that is the way it is. So Robert makes the statement that, that this is Microsoft's problem. They said it would port over. They. Fast forward a little bit, and all of a sudden, at some point, Robert realizes that this isn't going to work. It's not going to port over. We're going to have to do something. And he makes an announcement, something to the effect that there's going to have to be an update being done to the plane, and that. But rest assured, not to worry. If you purchase the aircraft from PMDG's website, it would be a free upgrade, and that's what it would be. It would be a free upgrade. But if he had purchased it through the store, there he couldn't guarantee it would be a free upgrade because he wasn't sure. It sounded like he wasn't sure whether or not Microsoft would actually charge. I don't know why he would say that. There are free things on the store all the time. Does that mean the vendor who put those things up for free is paying Microsoft? I dare say probably not. Microsoft charges a 20-25% fee for developers to sell their product on their website, on their marketplace, as they should. Millions of people go there. So I'm not sure what his rationalization for suggesting that Microsoft there might be a charge on the website, but maybe he's out there protecting, just making sure, he doesn't want to say something that he shouldn't. All right. So now we'll fast forward a little bit further along the line, and he comes out to state, Robert, he comes out to state to say, he realized that Microsoft did say that most of the stuff should port over. However, there was some more detailed projects, that may not be the exact right word, but more detailed projects that might not port over, and there may be some that just won't port over. And Robert then now starts to acknowledge that was the statement, and it wasn't just a statement that everything would port over. He acknowledges that, and good on him for doing so, because that was the fact of the matter. I watched that live stream that Microsoft put out. I watched it and listened to it clearly, what they were talking about and what they were saying. I rewatched it a few times just to make sure I was clear about what they were saying in the moment. And so anyways, he then says that at some point the update is going to be a more substantial update, and that this more substantial update may result in a small / nominal / whatever fee, but doesn't elaborate on that statement. And again, I paraphrase because I can't state the exact words he used. So me in the community think to themselves, yeah, okay, there's going to be a small little charge. There's a much more in-depth refab of the plane that's going to take place, and we get it. He's doing this. It's a business. It's about profitability, and he has to pay somebody to do this work. And although I would dare say that if you say something, you should probably stand for your word. You should probably stand up and begrudgingly take one for the team because you said it. What is your integrity worth? Speaking of which, what is your integrity worth? I posted a very similar thing like this on the PMDG forums, and I believe I was being very respectful. We used foul language. I believe I said it similar to the way I'm saying it now, much more condensed, of course, because it was text. And for my efforts, I was permanently banned from the forums. My post was taken down, and I was called something very endearing, and I will explain that in a moment. I just want to back up, and I began the post with, I am a PMDG customer. I own a few of your aircraft already and would love to own even more. And so that leads us to him permanently banning me because, of course, I said something that either A, struck a nerve, B, he thought it was untrue. And if it was untrue, you fight that kind of scenario with facts and proof. The fact that you kick and ban me off your forums page only proves guilt. It doesn't prove anything but guilt for most people in the real world, but others maybe not. The word that he used, it said, you have been permanently banned by Robert Randazzo. It was R. Randazzo, not Robert, I guess. And the reasons are asswipe. That was the word that this stand-up gentleman, I might say, he chose to use to tell one of his customers as to what he thinks of his customer. He calls him an asswipe. I gotta tell you, that fueled me pretty badly, and I wanted to produce a video, and I didn't, because I believe we need to rise above these kind of things, even though some don't. All right, so he says there's going to be a small fee, and FYI, I'm far from the only one that has been banned and called that word. There's many more. Anyways. So he says there's going to be a small nominal fee because this is going to require a significant endeavor or a significant update to it. He fast forwards again, and he's getting closer now to the actual release date. I say closer, it might be a few months away yet still. And he comes up with and says, we're going to have to do a complete revamp. This really shouldn't be just an upgrade. This should really be a revamp, but we're going to call it version 4.0, I think is what his statement was on a live stream he did with somebody. And I saw that and I thought, okay, Okay, so the plan has changed. The plan has changed from, yes, it definitely will port over to 2020 without a problem, to blaming Microsoft for all of the problems, to acknowledging that he misunderstood Microsoft, to telling us there's going to be a small nominal fee, to telling us now there's going to be an upgrade, and that fee will be, small, but there will be a small nominal fee, to later on to say that that small nominal fee will equal a few cups of coffee. Okay, so that's kind of the history of where we are. And a year later, this plane gets released. All the while, the 777 gets released, and other planes get released. Now, I get it. It's a business. You can't, lay everything onto this plane and stop everything else, because business falls apart if there isn't revenue. So I get it. I understand. But to us in the sim community, who are desperately wanting to fly our PMDG aircraft that we've been told we can, and now can't a year later for a year, it's frustrating. Anyways, so we are now at the release, and PMDG says it's going to be a discount off of the original purchase price of $75 US. Not so much an update fee, but now just a discount off of the original purchase price of $75 US. Okay, so that equals to being about 30 USD, depending on where you are in the world. It can be 30, and it can be upwards of 45, maybe even $50, depending on your currency, where you are in the world. All of us know that in the sim community, we are the sim community of the world. I mean, there's people in the sim community that are buying this plane everywhere in the world. Literally everywhere in the world. Anyways, so let's think about this for a minute. We're told that it's now going to be the cost of a few cups of coffee. Well, Robert, I'm not sure where you buy your coffee, but you obviously buy very expensive coffee, because a few can mean maybe 3 cups of coffee. Let's just call it 4 cups of coffee, $1.50, $2 a cup, in that neighborhood, maybe. I don't know. Call it 5. That's $20, I guess. I guess it kind of could be, but that'd be very expensive coffee. The implication would be that most of the sim community thought it was just going to be a few dollars, not 30. All right. Let's talk about the plane now, okay? Let's just kind of talk about PMDG and who they are to me as a flight simmer. PMDG, Robert, you guys are phenomenal. You guys have made unbelievably great products for forever and ever and ever and ever and a day, as far as I'm concerned. Your products releases have always been, in my mind, stellar. They've been great. Although, this turbulent time with the 737-800 hasn't been great, but the anticipation is the product is going to be out of this world. It is going to be the best product that you could possibly imagine it, because your rich history proves that that's what it will be. Well, let's look at the product, shall we? Okay, so here we are. I'm just in developer mode, in developer camera, just so I can fly around a little bit, because I want to show a couple of things. And from the from this view, yeah, man, look at that. That's pretty nice. That's pretty awesome. It's a good looking plane. Like it looks good. The livery is rich. Yeah, it's a great looking plane. But if you dig in just a little bit deeper onto the plane, you start to see maybe some things that aren't quite as rich and what we expect them to be. Now, I've seen some people talk about the nose cone maybe being a little out of round, and maybe not being out of round, but not quite right. And I can kind of see something there. For me, guys, I'm not worried about that. It is such a minute thing to me, but that doesn't mean that you can't be worried about it. For me, my personal opinion, this doesn't bother me. Okay, I've heard about the deckling not being so great. I think the deckling as a whole seems to be pretty good. I mean, are the textures as rich as they could be? Maybe not, but I think they're pretty good. I mean, I'm looking at the deckling, at the door here. It's pretty good, I think. So that keeps us in line with the standard of the PMDG aircraft and that you come to expect. But here's where it falls apart. Where's the light, guys? Where's the light? Now I want to stop right here and just have a discussion about this ever so briefly, because I know somebody's going to say in the comment section, there's something wrong with your sim. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. I know of at least one other person, and it's not just one, but I'm going to refer to just one. I know of one other person who has an amazing simulator. I don't think my simulator is, no slouch, but it's certainly not cutting edge, but it's good. And his does exactly the same thing. I've tested it. Everything I'm about to show you, his does exactly the same. So is it possible two completely different computers have these problems and it's the computers, or is it the aircraft? Okay, so we're missing the light. Let's just show that we're missing the light here as well. So that's not great. Okay, let's get under the aircraft. What's the story with the holes in the bottom of the fuselage? Right? Like, what is the story with these holes? And why are they there? They're not there in the real world. Excuse me, in the real world, I'll tell you that for sure. They're not. Okay, I've been told that the inside of the engines aren't necessarily. Let me get some better daylight here, just so we can eliminate some shadowing and stuff that we shouldn't be dealing with. So I've been told that the engine, isn't as good as it should be, or as good as maybe other planes are. I don't know. I think it's pretty decent. Is it top notch? Maybe not. But for me, for my case, it's pretty good. I'm loving it. I'm liking it a lot. I've been told that the wheels are out of round, and yes, I think if you get up to them close, you can see that they're kind of are out of round, which boils down to what I believe is the quality of the textures themselves, whether they're 2K, 4K, 8K type textures or not, but still pretty good. But what happened here? What happened to this? Did this just not get done? Was this a force, an oops? Was there an issue there? I don't know. Same as this side. And yet, the detail there is also equally not great. It's just not good. The detailing is just not stellar. That's pretty good, right? Oops, that's pretty good. But the landing gear, it just, is it me, or, am I being too picky about this? I don't think I am. It's just not really, really good. Again, I will say, I don't know if I really care about that too terribly much. I've heard a lot of stuff about the detailing, inside here. Guys, I challenge you to look at this and hopefully retain in your memory what you're seeing here, and then go open up the Asobo 737 MAX and look in here as well. And I challenge you to find something that is, significantly different in quality, because it really isn't. Maybe there's this minute differences between here and the 737 MAX, but not a significant difference. Okay, but still, let's be positive about this in some areas, and that is, it's a great looking plane. From this view, it's a great looking plane. Livery's good. I will say that I've flown the plane several times. It flies well. The instruments work well. Everything that you expect it to do does. It works, right? So it's a great plane. These anomalies, what makes them go away is if we go inside the cockpit and then we go back out, and then we get that, but that's okay. That's allowed. But if we do that, and I'm sure you can see it already, but I'll just get myself closer to it, you notice the light appears. Okay? So I don't know this for a fact, but I do know that I have a 737-800 in 2020, and that that 737-700 flies perfectly well in 2024 as well. It flies perfectly well. I have no problems with flying it in 2024. But the one thing I can't do with that plane is start it cold and dark at the gate. If I start it cold and dark at the gate, I'll get all kinds of weird things happening. It just doesn't work well at all. But if I put it at the end of a runway running, taxi it to the gate, shut it off, and then do a complete cold and dark startup, everything's good. And so I wonder why that is the case, that this light does not appear when you first get into the sim, but you go into the plane and come back out, bang, it shows. Could it be that this is not a remodeled aircraft as PMDG said it was? Could it be that this is just yet another port over with some necessary tweaks to get it to work? Could it be that? There's been some conversation that it might be just that. Let's go inside the cockpit and let's talk about a couple of things. I'm going to discuss the outside cockpit view and the HUD, the outside HUD. Why they changed it, I don't know. Is there something that made it change? Is there some reason it changed? Not in the 777 it didn't, but in this plane it changed. We now have this crazy engine. N1 doesn't say N1, 1 N2, and it just has a whole bunch of zeros. Now, of course, the plane isn't running, and if I got in there and actually started it up, you would see what you would see is you would see a needle, and that needle would be pegged over here, but the actual true N1 would show here in a single digit, which is kind of silly because N1 isn't based on tens of N1. They're based on, N1 at 25, 28, 32, 75, 44. That's the way N1 is based on. And the needle doesn't correspond to the here. I question PMDG, why was that done? Maybe, somebody could comment as to why that was done, or is it again another thing that just couldn't get taken care of because we had to release the plane too soon, and that's fine. If that's the reasoning behind it and it's going to get fixed in future updates, it's good. It's all good. Okay, let's go back in the plane. So inside the cockpit, up here in the front, I have very little to say about any of this stuff. To me, I think it works well. I don't think it works any better than the Silbo 737 MAX. Everything works in that plane just as it does in this plane, but this plane, it works well. Everything works good. I have one thing that I'm confused about. So, and that is, let me just orientate myself. So I'm sitting here in the captain's chair, and I decide I want to open up a window right there. You get your nice little hit box there, and it shows it there. You click it, and there goes the window. Opens up. Reach on over to the other side, and same thing. Click it. Opens up. Now, I say to myself, okay, I'm getting ready for pushback and takeoff and everything else. I got to close the window. How do I do it? How do I close the window? How do I close this window? And I am clicking and looking and clicking and looking and clicking and looking. I read an article that's talked about this. I read something about talking about something here. I read something about something talking about back there. And I just could not for the life of me figure it out. So I made the decision to go to the PMDG forums, hoping that somebody will have posted. Now, of course, I can't log in with my regular login credentials because, I'm an asswipe. So says Robert. So I can't do that, but I can still read forums as a guest. I can still read forums. And there in the forums is a post that a guy posts a picture as to where you should click to close the windows. I think to myself, great. Click on it. I have to log in. As soon as I get logged in, I'm an asswipe, and I can't see it. And this is how we treat customers. It's unfortunate, but apparently this is how we treat customers. All right. So I'm looking and trying to figure out how to do this. I spend about 20 minutes trying to understand. We click this to open it. Why isn't it click this to close it? Where is the hit box? Where is the hit box? I can't figure it out. And through about 20 minutes of messing around, I finally realize it's right here. Right there. That's the spot. And actually, that little tab appears that that's really the tab. If that's really accurate and true, that that's how you do close it in the real plane, so be it. One of the posts that I read from an admin, who I will not say his name, people are posting saying, how do you close the window? How do you close the window? Can't open it. I can't close the window. Can't close the window. How do I close the window? The admin says, I would advise you to look at the manual. It didn't sit right with me the way it was said, but maybe that's me and just being oversensitive to the circumstances. I don't know. It could be. I'm not sure. But it says, read the manual. Oh, fantastic. I pull up the manual and I read it. I cannot find anywhere in the manual. Now, I'm not saying it's not there. I could not find it. I did kind of go through the manual pretty detailed, maybe not line by line, but should we expect users to do that? Would the admin not have been better off to just simply say, hi, just in front of the window when it's open, there's a little metal tab. Put your cursor on there and click on it. But his response is not that. His response is, read the manual. Anyways, I digress. So that's how you do it. Just if you don't know, that's how you do it. And again, as I said, if that is how it actually is done in the real world, then so be it. You click it, and away it goes. It's very frustrating, but okay. So, as I said, I have no complaints about the interior, like the cockpit, the buttons, the dials, the doodabbers. I'm a huge supporter of the fact that in 99% of the case, when me as a pilot flying these planes, I can't get something to work, I am in huge belief that it's 99% of the time it is the cause of me, the pilot of the plane, because I don't know what I'm doing, because that sort of thing. I rarely will want to blame Microsoft and or the developers for the plane, but I think that window opening and closing is a developer fault or flaw. I just don't understand why it would not have been right there. Click it, open it, click it, close it. It's logical because that is where I clicked it to open it. Why would I think to look somewhere else other than right there? To me, that's logical. To me, this is illogical right here. It's just insanely illogical. But anyways, what led me to this, let me just do this. What led me to this was a posting that I read that said you couldn't turn on your flight bags when the window was open. And clearly, the first time I tried this, I had that exact same experience. I couldn't figure out how to turn the flight bags on while I was there, because I was clicking here. Whoever posted that, click there. They work. So let's give PMDG the due. I mean, it is logical that we would press the button to turn it on, not the display, but the button to actually turn it on. That's logical as well to me. Okay, let's go back here. Let's have a look. There were a few complaints that I read. Something about a gap behind the galley or behind the catering cart. I don't think it's back there, simply because the bathrooms are back there. I believe that concern was here. I don't have that concern. Whoops. I don't have that concern. I really appreciate the idea of this. I've long thought this should be something that should happen. I appreciate that. I think that's phenomenal. I really do. But this is one of those things that you would rarely come back here and actually do. You do it a couple of times and then the novelty wears off, and then you spend the vast majority of your time over there in the business end of it all, right? For me, that's how we do it. One thing that is kind of troubling is that lighting. Now, again, keeping in mind, I don't spend a lot of time back here, but I know that lighting is doing that. And again, I will say this. This is the case, as I said early on, not just in my sim, but this is the same case in at least one other person's sim. And I'm saying at least one, but I hope you understand it's more than one. And this other person's sim does exactly the same thing. So, are all of our computers bad? I don't know. I should explain some of my specs on my computer. I've got 32 gigs of memory. It's DDR4. It's 3600 megahertz, so far from great memory, but it is 32 gigs of memory. I've got a Ryzen 5800 X3D processor. Again, it's kind of older-ish, but it handles it very well. I mean, I don't know if you can see it up there, but I'm getting 80 frame rate right up there. It's doing a really good job. And I've got a RTX 4080 graphics card. Okay, so I come back here, and the detailing is really good. It's good. I'm pleased about this. I'm puzzled about this. Occupied. You can't hear, but that's what it says. Occupied. When did PMDG decide to not model their bathrooms? That I'm aware of, their bathrooms on the 737-800, 800 in 2020, the bathrooms are functional. That I'm aware of, their 777 bathrooms are functional. You can go in there and you can look around. Now, all of a sudden, the 800 is not functional. I don't know. I don't quite understand why that is the case. What is the reasoning behind it? So these are some of the things that I bring to the attention of my viewers, and I want to make sure that I'm clear about. I'm not trying to be overcritical, but guys, I got to tell you, as a simmer that's been around for a while, I have a real bad feeling of what this aircraft actually is, and I'm going to say it, and if it offends, note that these are my opinions and my opinions only. I'm not trying to suggest that everybody should think the way I do. When the aircraft doesn't visually look right on the ground, standing outside, and then you go back into the ground, back into the aircraft and come back out, it kind of feels like the aircraft was not properly done. Kind of feels like it wasn't a ground up build. It kind of feels like me moving my 737-800 for 2020 into 2024 and having some of these anomaly issues happening and having workarounds to get around them, but it kind of feels the same. There is a school of thought, I'll put it out there, that the 737-800 was an aircraft that was developed for, I believe, FSX. Now, I didn't have it in an FSX, but I believe it was developed for FSX. There are some thoughts that the 800 was ported from FSX into 2020 with some tweaks to make it work. And I got to tell you, I believe that is exactly what happened here. I believe that this plane was just a port over from FSX into 2020, and then yet another port over from 2020 into here, and these issues have not been addressed because either A, they didn't know the issues exist, and or B, they know they exist but intend to try to patch, fix, repair. Is it a completely ground up redo? I couldn't possibly definitively say one way or another that it is or that it isn't. It's just an opinion, guys. So, comment section, I've given a lot of information. I've given a lot of my opinion about this. The gentleman that knows who he is, that was also banned and called an asswipe for voicing his opinion, seemed very reasonable. It doesn't seem like he would have gone off the rails with something, crazy, outrageous at all to deserve a permanent ban. He is also a customer of PMDG like me, and there's more. To that gentleman, this video is also a continuation of yours, just to let you know that you're not alone in your views and thoughts. I have similar, and I suspect there's more than just you and I. Well, I know there's more than just you and I. To Robert Rendezzo from PMDG, Robert, I'm a man of some years of age, likely older than you are. That doesn't afford me respect from you. But it certainly does afford me respect when I treat you with respect and indignity, and I don't berate you and call you an asswipe. I have never been referred to an asswipe or anything such name in my life. I'm greatly offended that you think of me that way when I purchased your products. I'm a supporter of your products. I'm greatly offended, and I realize maybe my offense means nothing to you because you got the money and that's all that matters. I hope you're not that kind of a person, but here is my voice. It's very loud and very clear, and here you cannot stifle it because you don't like it. So, everybody who's watched the video, those that are in support and want to comment about this video, please do so. Those that are not in support, please comment as well. I'm welcome to hear, if you disagree with me, I'm perfectly welcome to hear it. You will not be banned, but your posts may be censored if they become too derogatory. So be mindful of whether or not those posts are, super derogatory. I have got big shoulders. If you think I'm wrong, you can tell me I'm wrong till the cows come home. But please do it respectfully. As I think I have been respectful here, and I was respectful in my post when I got permanently banned from PMDG. Now, the burning question, will I buy more PMDG product outside of this? And the answer is probably, because PMDG generally makes good product. This has been a blunder, and I hope that they don't allow this to taint their fantastic, rich history that they have developed over the years. I hope they do something to correct the problem, fix it, admit to the community there were some problems, and fix it. Being responsible for bad mistakes is about integrity in my world. It's about integrity. If I make a mistake, and I know I've made a mistake, it's been pointed out to me, I will be the first one to come out and say, you know what, you were right, I was wrong. And so if that happens in this video where I've been wrong, and it's been proven to me that I'm wrong, you will hear me say, I am wrong. All right, enough of that. Comment, like, subscribe, all those wonderful things. If you choose to, if you choose not to, I appreciate that and understand you, and appreciate all your time. I realize this video's gotten a little out there, but I just wanted to make sure that I kind of laid out the entirety of it all, and it takes me a minute to do that. So, you guys have yourself a wonderful day, and always be kind to one another. The world needs more kindness. It certainly doesn't need more rudeness. And don't sweat the little things in life. Those little things, they generally look after themselves. The big things, do what you can about those big things that are troubling you, that are troubling your neighbor, or whoever they're troubling. Do what you can about them. And those things that you can't do, those big things you can't do anything about, then you can't do anything about them. And don't let it weigh you down. The life will kick you as many times as it will without you having to kick yourself as well. So don't sweat the little things. Take care of the big things. Be kind. Love your neighbor, and be helpful. And most importantly, have yourselves a wonderful day. That's me, Raymond, Stream Gamers. Until the next one, bye-bye now.